Hey kids, so I had an opportunity, got a rare opportunity right now. I have my merchant tent set up and my teepee in the background. I'm gonna compare them both. Why not? Have opportunity. Got nothing going else in my life right now. Yay. So, quick video that I'm doing. I had the tents up. I'm cleaning everything out. I'm doing a couple fairs coming up, and I'll use my new digital camera that I got for that for doing the Ren Fair. But since I had the teepee up, and I also have my I don't even know what to call it. It's a conical shaped tent, and because I have them both, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will just talk about these since I have the opportunity of having them both up right next to each other and showcase them. Well, not showcase, but talk about them. So I'm sitting inside the teepee right now. I'll go outside in a bit, and I'm gonna be hosing down. It is a similar style tent. Sorry, again, I have my idiots here who won't be quiet. Similar style tent that I use. As it's conical shaped like the teepee, but it is it's half the size, smaller. But it is, when I travel and do smaller events, that's usually what I've been bringing. And I've been camping in that thing for the last 20 odd years. It's fallen to disrepair in the last couple of years, so I've just spent the last 2 weeks fixing it up and mending the holes and putting it back together. And so far, so good. But opportunity knocks. I got both tents up. I got them both next to each other. I'll give you a rundown and talk about the two different structures a little more. Again, I'm in the teepee, which is an interior rib setup of the poles. And then the other tent that I'm talking about, I'll show you in a minute, is my gray nomad tent. It dates back real far. They've unearthed similar designs that go all the way back to Neolithic and earlier time periods. So, and the first ones that they found were up in the either Northern Ireland or Northern England. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it was over there in that European area where they unearthed them. But so historically speaking, it's an old design, really old design, but it's super simple. I've enjoyed the damn thing. I've had it up in windstorms, literally windstorms up to 170, not 100 miles an hour, but about 70 mile an hour gusts. I've had that thing up, and it's held up great. I've had it in light rains, even heavy rains. It does leak a little bit because of the material it's made out of. But again, I'm going to take you over there. I'll show you that tent. I just hosed it down, and the hose to get some of the, these guys did certain things on it. We're not going to talk about that, are we? Are we? Hey, we gonna talk about those horrible things you did to my tent? Huh? No, we're not gonna talk about it, huh? Anyways, those guys there did some horrible things to it, and so I had to hose it off and get it prepped for the next season. Let's leave here, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Today, we take a look at the big purple tent. Oh, its glory. It has been repaired. All the little rips and distortions. That's the word I'm looking for. Inside of the tent, single pole that puts it up. It'll spin around and look out towards the back of the teepee. This is the great purple tent. Saying it's been Frankenstein back together like you cannot believe. I was going to retire it and throw it away, but I think I squeezed another couple years out of this thing. Events and all that fun stuff. There it is. All its glory. There she stands, the wool tents. My tent that is based on a dig that was discovered. The original one was made out of the original one was made out of hides, but it's a conical shape, very much like the I can't remember what they're called. They live up in Siberian, but they live in something very similar to it. It's like a teepee. It's like the teepee there, but there's only one stick in the middle. Now, this is my concept with camping with this thing for nearly 20 years. Is I truly believe that this is the style, the way they set things up. In a pinch, you can take this tent and you can throw it around the sticks if you have the sticks in place. So if you have the teepee sticks all there, you would drag your tent out to it. You would then wrap it around the sticks that are already in place and just take the fabric with you. What happens if you're in a situation and you're traveling out there and weather hits and you have to get warm? Well, I've been using it this way for a while. The front two poles can drop down, so it's a complete conical, but the whole thing is put up by one stick and then you anchor the sides down. Yes, this works in a pinch. I've been using it for 20 years. I've had this in all kinds of weather. I just hosed it down. I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute or two. But this damn thing has been through hell and back with me. It's been patched and repaired and repatched and repaired, and I call it the Frankenstein tent again and again and again. Most of the holes are from vermin or being stabbed or shot at or kicked at with sharp instruments. Or most of the holes are man-made by accident. But this tent, wool. Suiting wool. You know, I'll go into a little bit, but is it a waterproof? No, it's not waterproof. It's water resistant. Will it keep the water off you? Yeah, it will. But you can see the space that we have in here. Now, the big difference with this one is, like I said, I have a center pole. Excuse me. The center pole is, I usually put a fire, but I'll put my fire about right here. If you had sticks in existence that were already set up like the teepee at, you know, point in case the teepee here, all the sticks are already set up in the inside of this thing. So you have the center of the tent is completely open. I can do the same thing with this tent. That'll open up your direct center for your fire pit right there. But when I don't have it, I can put my fire pit out here. It just takes up a little space, and that's about it. But this is another form of, I'd call it experimental archaeology. On how to set up. Basically, it's pretty much a teepee tent in that way. But there you go. I'm just going to talk about this tent a little bit. I think I've never have. Using plastic spikes right now. I'm getting ready to head to a Ren fair that doesn't allow metal spikes or anything like that, but you could anchor it down with rocks, which I've done. But another neat little tent structure, and this is all it is a series of, I believe it's an odd number of triangles that go up to the top. That's how that thing was fashioned and made. But talk to you a little more about this in a second. So, I got a wool tent made out of suiting wool. A lot of you may know me. Like, does it leak? Well, I just hosed it down with water, with hose water. Okay, wool does an interesting thing. Yes, it does leak. Does it leak like all over? No, it doesn't. What it does, like in a heavy rain, you'll get a bit of a mist up here in this area as the rain hits it. But wool is a neat material because it actually just, it soaks the water down towards the bottom. So my down sides are really heavy. They're laden with water. But up here is practically dry to the touch. And I literally just hit it with the garden hose. And I saturated this thing really well to kind of get the dust and some of the other weird things off of it. But there you go. I mean, you can see how it is pretty much dry in here, except for a couple areas. But other than that, that's what wool does. Wool is a neat material. The outside you can kind of see as I pull away how it's saturated. Now, like I said, I've had this thing up in a deluge. I've had this thing up in a light misting rain. It does fine. The deluge, sometimes it'll get a little wet inside, but not like sopping wet. So there's your wool tents, period. Yeah, they are, man. The biggest issue about it, this one's got pugs on the outside. Get off of the tent, guys. So So this one has a, but yeah, that's pretty much where it is. I mean, this is how, I mean, literally it's dry up here where I'm touching the top of the tent, and I just, not even 4 minutes ago, hosed the whole thing down. But it wicks the water down. Is it waterproof? No, but it's wool, and that's how our ancestors did it, which I thought was very interesting when building this tent. I mean, this tent is 20 years old, and it's still surviving. I've had some little rips in here, some repairs, but would I do it over again? Probably not, because I won't use it as much. But would I build a tent in wool? Absolutely. There you go, the mystery of the wool tent. Not solved, but explained a little more. So the tent itself is round, of course, duh, and single pole holding it up. The front I raised to create an entrance, and using 2 sticks creates a main entrance way. This can easily be segregated off from the rest of the outside environment by hanging a cloth right here in the front across there and just tucking it down, which will give you privacy and enclose it, keep the heat in, the light in, and whatever you want. Try to get it out of the area. But round tent based on the teepees of some of the Aboriginal peoples. We unearthed a couple of these ones that were very similar to this pattern and shape, and they were a Neolithic tent way back in the days. The original ones were made out of different hides and stuff like that, but as we started learning how to felt and create wool from our animals that we traveled with, we created material, and the material we could easily make into yurts and other objects like that. And thus this has been another easy tent to make out of, like, felt. This one's suiting felt or suiting wool, so it is a wool tent, but some neat things to be made with these. So there she is in all her wonderness. That is a 20-year-old wool tent, made out of suiting wool. Backstory is I was living in Southern California, Orange County, and I had a garage fire, and it burnt down my garage, destroying everything in my life. And at that time I was into, the SCA and some other historical recreation groups, and lost everything I owned. Well, this was the creation of gifts from great generous people. They ended up dropping off on me within, that weekend, several yards of suiting wool. Figured I'd make garb out of it. Well, I made a tent out of it, and they got me back up and going within a couple weeks, rather than having to rebuy everything and go that pace. We decided to create the tent ourselves. It was created on a home sewing machine. It could have been hand stitched, if you're going to go historically accurate, but that thing has been around for 20 plus years. And I've had little repairs to do here and there. It's been kicked like an old dog, and it's been raised back up and reused and reanimated and all that fun stuff. But I had a great opportunity. I've got that there, got the teepee there, and I figured I'll talk a little bit about they're basically teepees. But one has a center pole in the center holding it up. The other one has the ribs around the inside holding that one up. But talk a little bit about that. So the teepee itself, internal ribs, gives you strength and structure. You wrap your cloth frame around it, and you pull it so it's taut, and that'll give you protection. Now this tent has been up for 6 years, pretty much steady in the elements. I've got some minor repairs that I've been doing on it over the years, but 6 years canvas versus this guy over here, which is 20-year-old wool fabric. avoid the guy ropes to give you a backup picture on this thing. Go over that tent a little more here in a bit. Okay, so I'm inside the teepee right now, and similar structure as the gray tent, but just want to show you the ribs and the way things are put up that way. Now, as I was saying, you could take the sticks with you if you wanted to. My theory is, why not take the sticks and leave it up at your main camp, your travel camp. So when you travel from point A to point B, you would just need to bring like a single stick to put up, like the tent I just showed you behind me. A single stick that you can put up in a pinch. For long-term setting up your tent, you would create your skeletal structure and drape your tent over the skeletal structure. It opens up your center area and gives you a little more space to work with when you don't have a single pole holding the tent up. These are just some ideas, concepts I've been working with since I've been setting up that tent camping at 20 years, and also using a teepee for the last 6 years. Just some neat things I've discovered over the years with using these things. So this is my fire pit. Normally it would go inside the tent. This is the outside one, but what I was going to touch upon are the cooking implements that I have here. Doing this with one hand. This won't fall apart, but the piece that I just took off, it is a three-legged fire pit bucket holder. The name just went away. It was there in my head and just went away. But anyways, it collapsed itself. It's got a rivet in the middle. I have my hook that's permanently attached to it, and it's so I can use a chain or something like that to lower and up and raise a cooking pot onto it. But in a nutshell, that's it. It's three legs. They collapse together so they can make it into for traveling. Take that down. The whole thing will collapse into itself, so it's easy to put into a bag and for traveling. Hook into your horse or whatever you use. So my secondary type of cooking tripod, I guess that's the word I'm using, it's two metal poles. Each metal pole has a hook, second one over here or third one over here, and then have my rod that goes across the top. And that one's easier. You just plant that into the ground, and this one is used a lot easier also for transportation, but that one you just put your hooks on and slide your hooks back and forth. But that one is more of a Viking style. I believe this style was unearthed off of a find, but the idea is, they did a lot of cooking on boats, so they'd put the rocks there, or briquette, build their fire on there, and they could cook using this thing because it's transportable. But generally this goes in that guy, so for my cooking station. But I figured I'd touch base on that real quick. And how do you heat the inside of a tent? How do you cook inside of a tent? Well, these are some of the tools that I use to do that. Once again, these are the little chains and whatnot that you can use with your S-hooks. That's known as an S-hook. And it is exactly what it is. It's an S made out of steel that you could hook and hang your pots on and adjust your height and everything like that. But there you go. So we will do a quick, slow walk around and hopefully show you some detailed parts. When the tent was originally made, we had flaps that we kind of added to the corner there, those things there, and they came out, and then you tucked them under and put stuff onto them. But over the years, I found they were just basically worthless, so I ended up getting rid of them. But the anchor points at one time were nice, but they've been repaired over the years. Some of the repair points are way more damaged than the other parts of the tent, but it's had a rough life. really rough life doing this tent. But there we go there. I'm gonna swing around here. Now these things again are just rolled up, more for look than anything else. There's that interior once again. So each piece is roughly a triangle stitched together. I left the center point open and used ties. The ties are tied to a ring, and the ring sits on the pole here. And there's the interior. You know, another fun thing with this is, you know, you can hang banners and stuff like that. And what they do is, those act as a little bit of privacy. So like you said, a cot up back there or your bedding back there, you can get at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 adults sleeping this along the corners without an issue. This is not a tent where you get in and walk around. This is one, your only high part is, I am that tall. So a 6-foot person is gonna be about right there. You only need to stand up in the center, but this was kept low profile for reasons. And transporting it, setting it up, the way that the shape is, when I do have a fire inside of here, there's like a heat ball that's kept right in this area here. That's where your warmth is, and it just kind of keeps it there. The conical shape does some weird stuff, especially when you're heating the inside of the tent, and even trying to keep it cool. That acts as a chimney, draws out some of the fumes and the bad things. And you know, I've had this over an actual smoke fire, and it acts like a giant. It acts like the teepee, and since it acts like a giant chimney. But those are all the little ins and outs about it. Just more details on this thing. I always got people asking me questions about this tent, so figured have the camera, I'm cleaning it off, get off my butt, set this thing up, and talk about it. I believe I have some old snapshots too, some drawings that I did that I'll include in this video that shows you how to make one. I find it was super easy. This is done again with a sewing machine in a living room, and you could probably use it. I've had plenty of other friends. I'll dig up the pictures and I'll do some research on that, dig up some of the old pictures of other people that have created the same design. And like I said, it's 20 years of been around 20 years, and I've had a lot of people take them. Some of these tents, they took these and they raised them up 3 feet and put sidewalls around the bottom. But the problem with sidewalls is every sidewall you put up has got to be staked and brought down, so it's just a lot of it's extra work. This, I walk around the perimeter, go boom, 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 put my stakes in, throw out my center pole, I'm done, I'm walking away, I have a tent. That's how I like to do it when I camp. I don't like spending hours and hours and hours setting up a tent. More to that in a couple minutes. Well, I have this one up as well. Again, like I said, I'm hitting a fair, and we're doing the fair this coming next weekend, but I am going through and setting up all of my structures that I was bringing. That way I have time to get them cleaned up, make sure I got all the right sticks. But this is the merchant tent, the merchant tarps, but it's new in essence of some of the other structures that I've used and what I've done with it. So this is a simple tarp. It's a 20 foot by 30 feet one, and I've got a ridge pole that goes across from left to right, and that holds up the back, gives me a little stability, and that's where my anchor point's in. And then I go on a down slope, and normally if it's just this structure, that's where I put my cot, and then I normally sleep in. I sleep in the open, doesn't bother me. As long as the weather is off of me, I'm a happy camper. Speaking of which, it's starting to rain right now. This area here, where all the lattice work of sticks and twigs are, these are where I display jewelry and whatnot. Now the new addition that we've just done to this thing, and the reason I have it up is I put drapes under this. They're all tied up and rolled up, but had a buddy of mine drop in my lap a bunch of, I guess, service napkins is what they were. I'll go around the fire pit this way. And so what we did is we made flaps like that one, And so that can be dropped in the front here, and then also be dropped on that side there on the outside of the jewelry. That way this whole area can be shut down. Normally it's not shut down. And the way I merchant, sorry, I just dropped the shoe. The way I merchant is I'm in the tent or someone's in the tent 24/7. I don't like walking away from a merchandise when it's a tent for security reasons. But this little structure here, this was the painted goblin tent, I think I showed in the last video. This is simply a wedge of canvas that was folded in half. I haven't done the drape on the other side yet. There'll be a drape right here as well, and that'll close that off for camping. But there's enough that you can get there's enough for a queen size mattress in there at the bottom. Room wise, I'm 5'5", and see if I can switch this. I won't switch it around, but I've got about that much headroom at the top. Yeah, my head hits the side, but at least I can stand up in here. But this will be another area that was used for, basically, be used for camping. That was just a wedge formed off of the side poles, and then putting drapes on the front, drapes on the back, and it seals it off. The other nice thing we can do with this too is because we have these extra sticks here, it can be lifted up and opened up for heating or accessibility. But over the years I've learned you just keep it simple. Keep the weather off you, keep the rain off you, and you're good to go. But that is just a simple tarp put up in a anchored at the back, stretched over a pole, stretched forward and tied down. And then it gets that conical look right there because of this thing there. Technical note, whenever I use a stick at the top of the tent that uses pressure to push it forward, I wrap them. And I put this one, I believe, has a baseball in the end, and I wrapped it in a little bit of burlap. And that it gives enough surface space that it'll put a shut in there and give some tension, but it won't push through the material. If you put a stick up and just use the stick itself as tension, over a while the winds will do this, and because it's a lot harder, it's not soft, it'll push itself right through and destroy your canvas, put a hole in your canvas. But yeah, this will be set up at the Ren Fair next weekend, and I'll have a better look at everything all set up and all period wise. But it's another structure. Just gonna go over and have the opportunity to get it up, show you what it looks like all set up. Yeah, there you go. So, family got me a thing, kind of an early birthday gift, but they picked me up a GoPro with a bunch of cool accessories and things and fun stuff. So I can attach the camera to the motorcycle. Those are batteries. Those are the batteries, and a whole bunch of cool stuff. So. Just want to say, hey, look at this kind of cool stuff. I can up my game, I guess. I will be using this camera if I can figure it out, because I have a hard time trying to figure out a rock sometimes. I could probably pick it up, use it as an ID card as well. But so I will update the next big video, which is the Ren Fair that I'm going to this next weekend. And one of the ones that I promote and produce, and I will get some great videos of that with this new camera. I just need to figure out how to turn it on, so that'll be interesting. Anyways, thought I'd update you, let you know what's going on. So the next video should be on this, maybe, if I can figure it out. awesomeness, because I'm not too bright when it comes to technical stuff.